morning and welcome to this historic and momentous event. My name is Ken Hamilton. I'm president of Nevada Day, and this is not only a historic event for Nevada Day and our collaboration with these wonderful folks over here at Pony Express, but also for Carson City for all of Nevada. For you that don't know, we are becoming the only active Pony Express stop in the nation.
Yay!
So I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. The Mistresses, the Mayfield gang, Jack Waggon, supervisors, mayor, the Pony Express guys, and there's the president, Mr. Ron Bell. Would you like to say a few things?
You know, we look at history, and history's on shelves. History's in the books. History's at museums. And we have some people here from museums and historical societies. We have history that's being lived. When we do the re-ride, we're living the history of the people who rode in the 1860s, 1861. On the 3rd of April today, in 1860, is when they started the horses from Sacramento, St. Joe, Missouri. I don't know where they met. They met someplace. Each of them went their separate directions. Each rider riding probably 100 miles, 80 to 100 miles a day. And then they would wait, they would catch the next horse back. Today, what you just said is the fact is today we are actually making history. Today is a tourism event. It's going to be an opportunity for Carson City, for the Nevada Day store, for the Pony Express. There's very few times in life that you get an opportunity to be part of history, and we are part of history today. And I think we ought to give all ourselves a hand and say, hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Yay.
Sorry.
I want to deliver, man.
Thank you so much, Ron. Well put. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean that.
Well put, right.
Next, we would like to make this official. So we got the mayor up here, and
We got two
some supervisors.
back.
Please step
Where
up.
do you want us to go?
Actually, come right up here.
Right up here.
Because we're going to proclamate this.
This is a proclamation, Carson City Pony Express Station #1. Hey. Whereas the first run of the Pony Express began on April 3rd, 1860, crossing 1,966 miles between St. Joseph, Missouri and Sacramento, California. Founded by W.H. Russell, Alexander Majors, and William B. Waddell, the Pony Express was established to shorten the time of mail delivery going to the east and west coast and had 30 known Pony Express stations throughout the state of Nevada. Before I read further, you hear that statement, and you look at where we are today in terms of digital spacing and digital how fast we can send things across the world. Just keep in mind what those folks had to do to go from Sacramento to St. Joe. Whereas the Nevada division of the National Pony Express is made up of men and women ranging in age from 14 to 90 who are dedicated to educating the public about the Pony Express, both in its past and present, and participate in a re-ride each year. And whereas Nevada Day Inc., coordination with the Nevada Division of the Pony Express will on this day, April 3rd, 2015, at the Nevada Day store and trading post, establish and implement the first active Pony Express stop since 1861 and made known henceforth as Pony Express Station #1. Whereas on the last Saturday of the month, starting on Saturday, May 30th of this year, the Nevada Day store and trading post located right here, 108 West Telegraph Street. The Pony Express riders will engage in educational activities, postcard and letter stamping and collection. Will conclude the day by mounting their ponies and delivering the collected mail via horseback ride to the Carson City Post Office located at 1111 South Fruit Street, here on our very own Carson City. Now, therefore, I, Robert Crowell, Mayor of Carson City, on behalf of our Board of Supervisors, and we have two Supervisor Shirt and Supervisor Bagwell with us here this morning. Encourage all residents, friends, participate in on this historic event that will mark Carson City as the nation's only active Pony Express stop, where the West is alive and the Pony Express rides again. Carson City, let's present this now. What a wonderful day to start. You know, this Carson City Day. It's a bad day, but it's Carson City. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Well put. We're very proud. We're very proud of the relation with the President for you too. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Could I make a quick statement? I'm always a little bit mouthy. I'm going to tell you, my daughter staggered into this store. History is how it comes about. My daughter came in here. She was sick. I was working on a project. She walks in here. The next thing I know, she comes across the street, grabs me. She said, "Dad, you need to go here now." Literally, that's what she said. I walked in here and I made, honest to God, the worst presentation I've ever made in my life. I was stumbling all over myself. Dana says, "Calm down." It's all right. I want your book. And then between the two of us, and then we brought in our ex-national president. Jim, step up here for a second. Jim Swigert was very instrumental in helping us and guiding us through this process to help us get this together. When you look around here and look at all the photos here, man, we got some riders from the Shelbourne group. I've been adopted, Gino. These guys are the toughest riders, the fastest. They ride the worst country there is out there. And these guys are absolutely stellar. But man, what an opportunity, and the people it took. This young lady right here is just flat put this together. And just get a great hand. I'll leave the curse. I'm done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. Now we do the young Bailey.
This is a very special piece. If I could have Zoe Copel and John come forward. Oh, you there. What we're going to unveil here is a big piece of history. And we needed a plaque to commemorate this being home station number.
That's all right.
Let me get my Irish on. And I'd asked them if they would make this plaque. We had a little bit of hiccups, not with them, trying to get a plaque done. And they stepped up to make this beautiful display for us, and that we were going to pay for and commission, but then they donated it back because of this being a wonderful historic. Thank you. So John, I'd like to introduce you to John and Zoe of One Off Concepts, and they're also going to have their little name plaque on here because they were so generous to give this historic piece here. So I wanted to thank them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We ready?
All right.
1, 2, 3, go! Whoa!
That was nice.
Beautiful work.
It says Nevada Division of Pony Express, home station number 1, to benefit the people of Nevada. History presenter, and he is Warren Upson today, and so she's going to do a little piece on our Stagecoach Pony Express rider, Warren Upson. And then we've got beautiful photography from Dennis Casilla, Kristen Cabrin, and Melissa Knight inside. We have the Naughty Tea Mistresses of Nevada. We have the Mayfield gang, who's going to be doing some performances. We have Acta Jack. And tell us a little bit about what you do here with the Pony Express.
Wanted, young, skinny, wiry fellers, not over 18. We got an 11-year-old back a little while ago. Not over 18. Must be expert riders willing to risk death daily. Orphans preferred. Wages? What about those?
Excuse me.
Sounds a bit ominous, don't it? Well, how do, folks? I am Warren Boston Upson, express rider for the Central Overland, California, and Pikes Peak Express Company. Folks know we call us the Police Express. And in March March of 1860, I answered that ad, along with about 180 other fellers, and together we helped to save the Union. Bet you're wondering how we done it. Well, I'm gonna tell you. You see, back in them days, this country was in a terrible state. Why, we was fixing to go to war with one another, and couldn't seem to get mail and express west of the Mississippi in less than 25 days. So President Buchanan, he put out a call to anyone who could come up with a method of mail delivery to cut that time in half. Now, 3 gentlemen who had a freighting firm by the name of Russell, Majors, and Waddell came up with a relay system of horses and men who could carry the mail the nearly 2,000 miles from St. Joe, Missouri to Sacramento Town, California in just 10 days. Blows your mind, don't it?
Blows your mind.
Well, this is how they done it. You see, in order to make the 10 days, they knew they'd have to ride 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it was very important that the stations were set the correct distance apart, because a horse is expected to run 10 to 12 miles an hour full out. After about 10 or 15 miles, it's going to get hooped. So what they did is they built about 165 stations. In March of 1860, 2/3 of those stations had yet to be built, and they expected to start this service in April of that year. Now, the riders were expected to ride 75 to 100 miles. That was about all us young fellers could do before we were all done in. So of those relay stations, which were swing stations, they had to have home stations every 75 to 100 miles apart. Now, as for the horses, they needed the best of the best. Pintos, Morgans, Thoroughbreds, and Mustangs. And they picked those horses not only for their endurance, but for their sure-footedness, especially in the Sierra Nevada. Now, those horses, in order to run 10 to 12 miles out, had to not have too much weight on their backs. So therefore, they needed them young, skinny, wiry fellers, because they ain't the only things that were going to be riding on the horse. You see, on the back of the horse, they needed to also place a saddle. And it wasn't a Western saddle, it was a military saddle, and a Mochila, which carried the mail. That could only be about 13 pounds. The riders could only be about 120 pounds. The mail, 20 pounds to leave the 150 pounds they felt was the max for the back of that horse. So the mail wasn't anything unimportant. It was newspapers, messages, and things that was going on in Washington. Written on thin, rice-like paper, bundled in something in waterproof skin inside of the Mochila's cantinas. And once they put that on the back of the horse could run the 10 to 12 miles out, 10 to 12 miles an hour for 10 to 15 miles out, okay? Now, this comes down to the riders. Yes, they were young, they were skinny, they were wiry fellers, not necessarily orphans. The problem is the company just didn't want to be responsible for the family of any of these riders if the rider was killed in action, so they kind of wanted them to be unattached. Now, they needed them to be young, and if you know anything about riding today in our times, them kids was really born with spurs on, weren't they, in 1860. So the riders were paid about $25 a week. That's good money because it was dangerous business. And the riders also lived at the home stations in between when the messages would come west and the messages would come east. So fast forward to April 3rd of 1860 when the whole endeavor began. Now, the horses left St. Joe, Missouri and San Francisco at that time simultaneously, and the riders started on their way. Riders, brave riders, adventurous riders like myself. I was known as one of the most bravest and fastest riders in all the Pony Express. Well, I was born in Marion, Alabama, and And we moved out here with my family in 1851 when my father became the editor of the Sacramento Union. Now I learned to rope and ride from the local vaqueros, and I soon surpassed their skills and became an excellent marksman and outdoorsman. So when I answered that ad, Bolivar Roberts, the route superintendent, placed me in the most treacherous part of the entire Pony Express Trail, the Sierra Nevada. Now my westernmost home station was Sportsman's Hall in Paulak Pines. My easternmost station was at the time Genoa, Utah Territory. Very shortly after that, then I was moved up to Lake Bigler, some folks call it Tahoe, at Friday Station. Now my very first ride was April 4th, and I took the mail from William Sam Hamilton, who was coming out of Sacramento town, and I headed off towards Riverton, Lawson Station. By the time I hit Strawberry, I was in a blinding snowstorm. Bolivar Roberts had to bring a string of mules out to get me up to Johnson Pass. Now once there, I was able to head on down the 2 miles of Holly Grade, changed my horses at Lake Valley House, went on up over Luther Pass, Grass Lake, down into Woodford's, and ended up in Genoa. I waited just a few days until the westbound mail came through, headed out, and at midnight ended up at the bottom of Holly Grade. At midnight in a blinding snowstorm once again. Couldn't believe my luck. I started heading up that trail, and right smack in the middle of the trail, halfway up, stood a pack of mules. Now I had to get around them, and they was standing belly deep in the snow. So I got off my horse and I broke the snow around each mule for my own horse. By the time I got to the top of the Holly Grade, I was 3.5 hours late. Got into Sportsman's Hall late, and Sam Hamilton got the mail late to Sacramento and missed the steamer. It had to be ridden through Martinez and Benicia to Oakland to then take the steamer across the bay. Now I had many adventures in my time, and I was very, very privileged to know one of the most famous riders of all the Pony Express, even more famous than myself. Pony Bob Haslam. Robert Pony Bob Haslam was an Englishman that came over here to the United States in his teen years. At 20 years old, he was helping to build the trails for the Pony Express. Now, 4 months into the endeavor, they assigned him to Friday Station. Now, for 75 miles from Friday Station all the way through here, Carson City and out to Buckland Station was his route. Now, just 1 week into his employment, and he thought he was going to have a real easy time of it because he was just going down the Sierras and out to Buckland Station and back. Something happened that changed the face of Nevada, the Paiute Indian Uprising. Now, he didn't know about it, but when he got to Carson City and there were no horses at this station, he had to go on to the next station on the same horse. And the same thing happened all the way out to Buckland Station, but when he got out there, he found out what was going on. You see, the station had been attacked, and there was a fear to the Indians now. And he didn't even rest. And he said, I'll take the mail on the next route because that lily-livered rider wouldn't take it all the way out to Smith's Creek. So Pony Bob did it for him. He got out there, and he waited over about 9 hours, and he started heading back through without incident, I tell you, until he got back to Cold Stream Station. There he found the station burned and the station master killed, and he knew that this was something that was really happening. So when he got back through Buckland Station, he was sounding the alarm all the way, everywhere he went. And when he got back to Friday Station up at Lake Bigler, he had ridden a total of 380 miles. The longest ride for any single rider. Now, he also had the fastest ride of any single rider. We were privileged in March of 1861 to carry the inaugural address of President Lincoln. A privilege it was, because west of the Mississippi, nobody knew what was going on. So we set up a few extra horses, a few extra stations, and we carried that mail in 7 days and 17 hours. That was the fastest ride. But you know who had the fastest time? jaw. He had been attacked, but he did not stop until the mail was delivered to the next rider. Wow. Very brave gentleman. Well, I feel privileged that I participated in that, and I helped to get the mail through in the 7 days and 17 hours. I also helped to carry the sad news on April 14th of 1861 that Fort Sumter had been fired upon, and the war between the states was on. And we had to get that message to my father at the Sacramento Union as soon as we possibly could. Now, we had many adventures, but what began on April 3rd of 1860 ended unceremoniously on October 24th of 1861 with the joining of the Transcontinental Telegraph. Now, what could be carried in 10 days from the Mississippi to Sacramento could now be transported in just 1 day via telegraph. Now, Pony Bob went on to have many other adventures. He stayed working for Wells Fargo, and he had a route between Virginia City and Reno, and he set some more records. And then he ended up being a U.S. Marshal, and he also retired being a concierge for the Congress Hotel in Chicago. I myself, being an adventurous man, went on to Alaska to become a sealer and a whaler, and I spent a lot of years also at the Panama Canal. Now, I'm afeared that what's going to happen is if they ever need all of us Pony Express riders again, there just aren't a lot of us left. And I want to know if there's any of you out here who want to be a Pony Express rider in case we're ever called up again. Nobody wants to be a Pony Express rider. I bet you. Well, I'm going to force you to raise your right hand whether you like it or not. Because it's important to be able to ride, but even more important to be able to live by an oath. Is that not true, Marshal Jack Waggon? Absolutely. Is that not true? True. That we are going to live by this oath, and you can become then a Pony Express rider. You're going to take the same oath I took in April 1860.
This isn't binding, is it?
Ma'am, I'm worried about you. I do hereby swear.
I do hereby swear.
Before the great and living God.
Before the great and living God.
That during my engagement.
That during my engagement.
And while I am an employee.
And while I am an employee.
Of Russell, Majors, and Waddell.
Of Russell, Majors, and Waddell.
That under no circumstances.
That under no circumstances.
Will I drink intoxicating liquor.
Will I drink intoxicating liquor.
I see some hands going down. I will use no obscene language.
I will use no obscene language.
More hands went down. And I will not treat the animals cruelly.
I will not treat the animals cruelly.
And I will not quarrel or fight with any other member of the firm.
A member of the firm.
And in all, excuse me, this one's hard for me and I don't know why. I don't drink and I don't swear. But in all my endeavors, I will commit all my acts.
I will commit all my acts.
To win the favor of my employers.
To win the favor of my employers.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, you're all Pony Express.
Yay!
Well, now hold on just a minute. Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I got a quick joke. We had 250 kids sitting on the ground out here, and Kim got to that line and she says, I forgot the words. And all 250 kids says, I forgot the words. Sorry about that, kid.
But you knew they was paying attention. So what I'm going to tell you all now is you're all Pony Express riders. Now you need to get on into the trading post and get yourselves suited up, okay? And then we'll see you back out here right quick. Thank you so much.
Thank you.